All right, let's jump right in, shall we? Today, we are diving deep into Neuralink.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the stack of articles you sent is huge, so clearly this is something you were super interested in.
Definitely.
And to be fair, it's a fascinating topic. Brain chips, BCIs. I mean, it's all pretty mind-blowing, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it really raises some fundamental questions about what it means to be human in this age of, rapidly advancing technology.
Yeah, for sure. So first things first, let's kind of set the stage for those who might not be totally familiar with it. What exactly is Neuralink? Founded by Elon Musk in 2016, sure, but what's the big picture goal here?
So Neuralink is all about developing these implantable brain-computer interfaces. We call them BCIs for short.
BCIs.
And their main focus is on this chip that they call the link.
The link. Okay.
And what they want to do is create this seamless high bandwidth connection between the human brain and computers.
So basically like controlling computers with our minds.
Exactly. That's one of the big goals.
That is wild. Like straight out of science fiction. I mean, are we talking like, moving a cursor on a screen with your thoughts, like Professor X kind of stuff?
You're exactly right.
Wow. Okay. So obviously there are huge implications for things like assistive technology, right? Helping people with disabilities.
Absolutely. They're looking at things like restoring movement for people with paralysis, enabling communication for those who can't speak.
And I even read about a patient, I think they called him Alex, who is actually using his implant to create 3D designs in CAD software. So it's not just, basic functions. We're talking pretty complex stuff.
Yeah, it's really incredible how this technology is already being used.
It is incredible. But okay, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's back up for a second and talk about how this link actually works. What's the tech behind all of this?
All right, so the link itself it's a coin-sized chip. And the idea is to implant it in the brain. And it's designed to be what they call cosmetically invisible. So you wouldn't even know it was there.
So it's not like some big clunky device sticking out of your head or something.
Nope, not at all. And the real magic here is in these ultra-thin threads with electrodes on them.
Okay.
And these threads are implanted into the cerebral cortex, which is like the command center of your brain, responsible for all the higher level functions.
Right. So the neurons are firing, sending signals, but how do those signals actually get from the brain to a computer?
Okay, so that's where the Link's custom chip and Bluetooth technology come into play.
Okay.
The chip processes all the signals from those electrodes and then transmits them wirelessly, like Bluetooth headphones.
Oh, I see. It's like your brain is basically pairing with your computer.
Pretty much. And to make sure all those threads are implanted precisely where they need to be, they've developed this surgical robot to do the procedure.
The surgical robot. Wow, that sounds pretty intense. Are there any risks with this kind of thing?
Well, I mean, brain surgery always carries some inherent risks, right?
Of course.
But one of the challenges that Neuralink has faced is actually the durability of these implants. So you might remember that first human trial with Nolan Arbaugh, the guy who was paralyzed after that diving accident.
Oh, right.
Well, unfortunately, 85% of the implant threads ended up detaching because of, unexpected brain movement.
85%. Wow. That's a pretty significant setback, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a big concern for sure. The brain, it's not a static organ, right?
No, definitely not. So I guess the question is, how do they move forward from something like that? I mean, is the project dead in the water?
Well, what's interesting is that Neuralink, they're not giving up.
Yeah.
They're really determined.
That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, and so what they've done is they've made some adjustments, like they're placing the implant closer to the brain's surface, and they're being really careful to minimize any movement during the surgery.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so lessons learned kind of thing.
Exactly. It's all about, constantly iterating and improving.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be a pretty challenging journey though, right? I mean, besides the obvious technical hurdles, are there other big challenges they're facing?
Oh yeah, definitely. One big one is data compression.
Data compression.
Yeah, so, to really unlock the potential of this technology, you got to be able to transmit massive amounts of neural data, and you got to do it in real time.
Right, because the brain is constantly firing off signals.
Exactly. And so Elon Musk himself, he actually issued a public challenge, calling for solutions to compress the data by over 200x.
200 times.
Yeah, it's a tall order.
Right.
And some experts are actually saying that level of compression might be impossible.
Wow. So even if they solve the hardware problems, the the software side of things is equally complex.
Yeah, it's a multifaceted challenge for sure.
It definitely sounds like it. And, you know, even beyond the purely technical stuff, I have to imagine there are some pretty hefty ethical considerations here too, right? I mean, we're talking about, you know, brain implants. This isn't, you know, your average smartphone app.
You hit the nail on the head. Yeah, the ethical implications of this technology, they're huge.
Yeah, exactly. Like one of the things that came up in one of the articles was this idea of a societal divide. You know, what if this technology becomes so expensive that only the wealthy can afford it?
Right. You could end up with a world where the rich can essentially buy their way to becoming, you know, super intelligent.
Which is kind of a scary thought, right? Like almost like a dystopian sci-fi movie.
It's a valid concern for sure. We really need to think about how to prevent that from happening.
So it's not just about making the technology work, it's about thinking through all the potential consequences, the societal impact.
100%. We need to ensure that this technology is used responsibly and ethically. That's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the potential, the challenges, some of the ethical concerns, but let's circle back to the medical applications for a moment.
Sure.
You know, we touched on those briefly, but let's dive a little deeper. One of the articles really highlighted Neuralink's blind sight project.
Oh yeah, that's a fascinating one.
It is. I mean, the idea of restoring vision to people who have lost their sight, that's pretty much straight out of science fiction.
It is, and it's further along than you might think. They're focused on people whose visual cortex, you know, the part of the brain that processes visual information, if that part's undamaged,
Okay.
they believe they can essentially bypass damaged eyes or optic nerves and directly stimulate that visual cortex with the link.
Oh, wow.
And potentially restore some level of sight. They've even gotten breakthrough status from the FDA, so they can fast track the approval process. Wow, so they're really moving forward with that. That's incredible. It gives so much hope to people who have lost their vision. What about other senses though, like hearing or touch? Could Neuralink's technology be used for those as well?
Theoretically, yeah. The basic principle is the same. You're bypassing the damaged sensory organ and directly stimulating the brain.
I see.
However, those applications are still, you know, further down the line compared to blind sight.
Yeah, makes sense. It's still early days for this whole field, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
But it's mind-blowing to think about the possibilities. But, you know, at the same time, we can't forget about the risks. Remember, you know, that case with Nolan Arbaugh and the detached threads?
Yeah, that's a constant reminder that we're dealing with a complex and delicate organ. The brain, you know, it's still largely a mystery in many ways.
Oh, right. It's not like we fully understand how it all works.
No, and that's why we need to proceed with caution.
Absolutely. Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive into Neuralink. You know, we've talked about the basics of how it works, the potential medical breakthroughs, the ethical concerns, the challenges they're facing. This is a topic that just keeps getting more and more fascinating.
Oh, for sure. We've only scratched the surface here.
Yeah, there's so much more to unpack. Let's take a moment to process all of this, and then we'll come back and dive even deeper into the world of Neuralink.
Sounds good.
All right, we'll be right back.
You know, it really is incredible to think that we might be on the edge of a whole new era in human evolution.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
One where, like, technology and biology are kind of merging in ways we never thought possible before.
It's definitely mind-blowing stuff. But before we get too carried away with, you know, the future and everything, let's come back to the present for a minute.
Sure.
You mentioned earlier that Neuralink is already doing these human trials.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the latest on that front?
So the second human trial is happening right now, and the patient is, well, they're just calling him Alex.
Alex, okay.
And the early reports, you know, they seem to indicate that they've taken those steps to minimize brain movement during the surgery.
Oh, right. Like we were talking about before. That was a big issue with the first trial.
Exactly. Yeah, that was a major factor in all those detached threads.
Yeah. Okay, so it sounds like they're making progress.
Yeah, it seems like it.
But what exactly are they hoping to achieve with these trials? What are the goals?
Well, the main focus right now is safety, first and foremost.
Of course.
And gathering data on how the implant interacts with the human brain, you know, over time.
Long-term effects kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And also looking at how well patients can can control things with their thoughts.
Oh, like external devices and stuff.
Exactly.
So are we talking about things like, moving a cursor on a screen like Nolan Arbaugh did in that first trial?
Yeah, that's one example. But they're exploring more complex tasks like controlling a robotic arm, or even communicating through text.
Whoa, so like someone could actually think a sentence and then have it typed out.
Yeah, or even spoken through a speech synthesizer.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, to think that someone who's, paralyzed could actually regain the ability to move or communicate just by thinking about it.
Yeah, it's really groundbreaking stuff.
It is, and that's just the beginning, right?
Right. I mean, one of Neuralink's long-term goals is to enable like full body functionality for people with severe paralysis.
Full body functionality.
Yeah, so essentially like allowing them to regain control of their entire body
through the brain computer interface.
Exactly.
That would be revolutionary.
Oh yeah, it would be a game changer for sure.
It would. All right, well let's shift gears a little bit and talk about some of the more, I guess, futuristic, maybe even a little speculative possibilities of this technology.
Right.
One of the articles I read, it mentioned this concept of mind uploading.
Yeah.
Is that something that Neuralink is actually, working on?
So mind uploading, or whole brain emulation, as it's sometimes called.
Yeah.
It's more of a long-term theoretical goal.
Okay.
It's definitely something that's sparked a lot of debate and discussion.
I can imagine. I mean, the idea of transferring your consciousness to a computer, that sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But the technology to do something like that, it's nowhere near where it needs to be.
Right.
And some experts even say that it might never be possible.
Really?
Yeah, the human brain is just so complex.
Sure.
And we still don't fully understand consciousness,
Right.
It's still a mystery in many ways.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But, even if we never reach that point of like full mind uploading, right?
The potential applications of Neuralink's technology are still, they're incredible.
Oh, yeah.
We've already talked about, restoring mobility and communication and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But what about enhancing our existing abilities? Could Neuralink actually make us like smarter or faster?
Right.
Or more creative?
That's where it gets really interesting, right?
Yeah.
Neuralink has talked about this potential for cognitive enhancement, which is, basically boosting our mental capabilities.
Cognitive enhancement. So like imagine a world where you could, learn a new skill instantly. Mm-hmm. Or recall information with perfect accuracy, or even like enhance your creativity on demand.
Yeah, think about the possibilities for education or the arts.
It's like a superpower or something.
It really is remarkable.
But wouldn't that create an even bigger gap between the people who have access to this technology and those who don't? That's definitely a concern. Like we were talking about before, equitable access is absolutely crucial.
Right.
We don't want this technology to just exacerbate existing inequalities.
Exactly. So are we talking about like government regulation or some kind of ethical framework to kind of guide the development and the distribution of this technology?
Yeah, I think we need to start thinking about those things now,
Right.
Well, the technology is still relatively early in its development.
Yeah. Now, one of the articles mentioned that Elon Musk sees Neuralink as kind of a way to keep up with AI, with the rapid advancement of artificial intelligence. He's talked about like achieving some sort of symbiosis between humans and AI.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
What did he mean by that?
So Musk, he's concerned that if AI keeps developing at this exponential rate,
right,
humans could get left behind.
Oh, like we won't be able to keep up.
Exactly. And essentially become irrelevant in a world that's dominated by these super intelligent machines.
So he sees Neuralink as a way to kind of enhance our own intelligence and kind of keep pace with AI, almost like a level playing field.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
He envisions a future where humans can seamlessly integrate with AI. Augment our cognitive abilities. Maybe even, merge our consciousness with machines.
Whoa. Okay. Now we're getting into some seriously deep philosophical territory here.
Right.
Merging our consciousness with machines.
It's a big question.
It is. It's mind-blowing. But it also raises some pretty pretty profound ethical questions, right?
Really?
Like what does it even mean to be human in a world where we can enhance our biological limitations or even, transcend them?
Those are questions that, philosophers and ethicists are going to be grappling with for years to come.
Yeah.
And honestly, there are no easy answers.
No, definitely not.
But one thing is clear. We're entering uncharted territory here.
Yeah.
And we need to proceed carefully and with a really deep sense of responsibility.
We can't just, blindly chase after technological advancement without thinking about the potential consequences.
Exactly. We need to be thoughtful. We need to be deliberate in how we develop and deploy this technology.
Yeah.
We need to have open and honest conversations about the ethical implications, about the potential risks, and really think about the kind of future that we want to create.
It's almost like we're holding this powerful new tool in our hands, and we need to figure out how to use it wisely.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, it's not just about the technology itself.
Yeah.
It's about our values, our choices, and the kind of society that we want to build.
That's right.
Well, you've definitely given us a lot to think about.
Oh, I hope so.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into Neuralink. From the technical details of how it works to the mind-blowing potential, the ethical challenges, it's a lot.
It is a lot to process.
Yeah. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Neuralink, I'm eager to hear your final thoughts.
It really is amazing, to step back and look at all this stuff we've talked about.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
It is. I mean, we've covered so much in this deep dive into Neuralink.
We have.
From the potential to revolutionize medicine to, some pretty big philosophical questions about the future of humanity.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has. So as we wrap up here, what do you think are the most important takeaways? The things that our listeners should really remember?
That's a good question. Well, I think one of the biggest things is that we're truly on the verge of a technological revolution. I mean, a real revolution, one that could, fundamentally change what it means to be human.
Yeah, I agree.
This isn't, sci-fi anymore. This is happening right now.
Exactly. And it's not just about the potential for, incredible breakthroughs like curing blindness or helping paralyzed people walk again.
Right.
It's also about enhancing our abilities, maybe even merging with AI.
And potentially, achieving some form of digital immortality through mind uploading.
It's both exhilarating and a little bit daunting.
Yeah, for sure.
But we can't let all the excitement overshadow the potential risks and the ethical challenges.
Yeah, that's key. I mean, that's why we need to be having these conversations, right?
Exactly. We need to be open. We need to be honest about the societal implications of all this. We need to, figure out some ethical guidelines.
And we need to ensure that everyone has access to it.
Absolutely. Equitable access is crucial.
So what are some of the specific things that we as a society should be thinking about as we move forward, with this technology?
Well, privacy and security, those are big ones.
Yeah. I mean, how do we protect people's brain data from, hackers?
Right. And what about misuse by, governments or corporations?
Oh, yeah, that's a huge one, too. And equity and access, like we talked about.
Absolutely.
How do we make sure that this benefits all of humanity, not just, a select few?
Right.
And what about the impact on the workforce? Education, even just our social interactions.
All those things are going to be affected by this technology.
How will it change the way we live?
Yeah.
The way we work, the way we relate to each other? I mean, it's a lot to consider.
It is. And to be honest, there aren't any easy answers here.
No.
But they're questions that we have to start addressing now.
Yeah.
Before it's too late.
Before this technology becomes so widespread that we can't really change course.
Exactly.
Well, you've definitely given us a lot to ponder.
I hope so.
Any final thoughts you want to leave our listener with, as they continue to explore this whole fascinating field?
I would just say, stay curious, stay engaged, and stay informed.
Yeah.
It's moving fast, this technology, and the choices that we make today, they're going to have a real impact on the future.
They really are. That's a great point. Well,
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for joining me on this incredible journey into the world of Neuralink.
It's been a pleasure.
It really has. And to our listener, thanks for diving deep with us. We hope this has given you a better understanding of Neuralink and all the potential it has to, reshape our world.
Yeah. And remember, the future is not something that just happens to us. It's something that we create.
We create it together. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep learning. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.